Cut. The director's impatient shout sliced through the air, and the set fell silent. Julian Vance, the actor with a bit of heat behind his name, swaggered out from behind the monitors, an arrogant smirk plastered on his face. He pointed a finger at me. "Miller, I told you," he said to the director, his tone dripping with condescension. "Camera 3 on this shot just isn't giving me what I need. It doesn't capture the feeling. We should go with my setup." I ball my hands in a fist, forcing myself to stay quiet. "My name is Leo Hayes, and I'm a second assistant director on this film. Everyone on set just calls me Leo. No one's ever bothered to ask for my last name." The shot Julian had just torpedoed was the one I'd stayed up all night designing. Miller, the director, glanced from Julian, the star, to me, the nobody, and caved. "All right, we'll do it Julian's way." A cold numbness spread through my chest, but I managed to squeeze out a single word. "Right. An AD who thinks he's an auteur," Julian muttered as he brushed past me, his voice low enough for only me to hear. I lowered my head, swallowing the bitter pill of humiliation and frustration. Just then, a commotion erupted at the soundstage entrance. "Ava Sutton is here." My body went rigid at the name. My first instinct was to find somewhere, anywhere to hide. I watched as the woman, surrounded by an entourage, swept onto the set like royalty. She wore designer sunglasses and a tailored champagne-colored dress, her presence so magnetic it seemed to dim the world around her. She was my ex-girlfriend, Ava Sutton, and the waking nightmare I had spent 5 years running from. I yanked the brim of my baseball cap lower, praying she wouldn't see me. With her status now, she had probably forgotten I even existed, but she walked directly toward our little cluster by the monitors. She slipped off her sunglasses, her eyes scanning the playback on the screen before flicking to Julian. Finally, her gaze landed on me. She turned to Miller. I think his idea was fine. The set went dead quiet. A look of stunned disbelief crossed Julian's face. "Leo, is it?" She was in front of me now. "Starting today, you're off general crew. You'll be working for me directly." I stared at her dumbfounded. What was she playing at? "Well," Miller began, looking uncomfortable. Ava arched an eyebrow at him. "What? I don't have the authority to choose my own personal assistant." No, of course you do." Miller backpedaled immediately. And just like that, I went from an assistant director with at least some creative input to the exclusive assistant for Ava Sutton, the biggest actress in Hollywood. My first task was to open a bottle of Fiji water for her in front of the entire crew. She took a sip, then frowned. "It's too warm." I immediately moved to get another one. "Forget it," she called after me. "This will have to do for today." That tone, that look on her face, it was identical to the one I remembered. It was the same look she'd given me on that rainy day 5 years ago, when she'd tossed an absurdly expensive scarf at me. "My mother bought it for me," she'd said with a hint of annoyance. "The color is hideous. You look like you need it, so it's yours." I was lost again. Was she trying to help me, or humiliate me? All day, she had me fetching her tea, holding an umbrella to shield her from the California sun, and sending me on a wild goose chase across the studio lot to find a dozen different kinds of organic throat lozenges. Julian watched from the sidelines, a smug, triumphant grin plastered on his face. I spun like a top, pulled in a dozen directions at once, until I was physically and emotionally exhausted. By the time we wrapped for the night, I was too tired to even think about food. All I wanted to do was collapse. That's when Ava's official assistant found me, holding a sleek bento box. "Leo," she said, looking a little embarrassed. "This is Ava's dinner. It's from Nobu." She didn't have much of an appetite, only had a bite. It felt like a waste to throw it out, so, if you don't mind. I stared at the box, filled with dishes I'd only ever seen in magazines, a complex mix of feelings churning in my stomach. Watching the black SUV that carried her away disappear into the night, I was completely adrift. "Ava, what in the hell are you trying to do?" My new job began. My daily duties consisted of trailing Ava Sutton, handling all her miscellaneous needs like a real assistant. Julian seemed to relish my new position, finding new ways to boss me around in front of her. "Leo, where's Ava's coffee? Don't you know she only drinks single origin pour over?" "Leo, what did you do with Ava's script? How could you be so careless with something so important?" And Ava never stopped him. She would just watch with a cool detachment, as if it had nothing to do with her. But strangely, she always found other ways to compensate me. After Julian made me run out for coffee in the midday heat, I'd return to find a case of my favorite Topo Chico, perfectly chilled, waiting in her trailer. After Julian chewed me out for misplacing her script, she'd casually mention to the director the next day, in front of everyone, that my original idea for that camera shot wasn't half bad. She allowed Julian to chip away at me, but at the same time, she quietly protected the last shred of my dignity. During the lunch break, I sat alone in a corner, gnawing on a Cliff Bar, when Mike, one of the lighting guys, came over. "Man," he said, nudging my shoulder with a look of pure envy, "you've got some serious luck." I gave him a wry smile. "Luck? Feels more like a curse." "A curse? Are you kidding me?" Mike lowered his voice, nodding toward Ava's private trailer. "Dude, everyone on this crew, from Miller down to the PAs, would kill to be in your shoes. That's Ava Sutton. There are A-list actors who can't even get a word with her." He wasn't wrong. On set, Ava was the queen. She was the undisputed top of the Hollywood food chain. Not just breathtakingly beautiful, but a phenomenal talent. And she cultivated a famously icy persona, an aloofness that kept everyone at a distance. For a lot of her fans, that was part of the appeal. Her whole vibe is just intense. Mike went on. "Besides Miller and Julian, have you ever seen her say more than 3 words to anyone? You're the only one, Leo." His words just made my head spin faster. So, to everyone else, I was the chosen one, the lucky guy who'd broken through her walls. Only I knew that this luck felt more like walking on a tightrope over a canyon. But at least she hadn't recognized me. That was something. All these years, I'd started working out, learned how to dress. I was a world away from the skinny, awkward kid I used to be. Later that afternoon, the crew set up for an intimate scene, a hug between the 2 leads. Julian, whether on purpose or out of sheer incompetence, couldn't get it right. They did more than a dozen takes, and Miller wasn't happy with any of them. "Julian, you're holding your lover, not a sack of potatoes." Miller yelled from behind the monitor. "I need some passion, some possessiveness. Do you get it?" Julian looked annoyed, shrugging off the director's notes. Suddenly, Ava pushed him away. She turned her head, her eyes finding me where I stood off to the side, holding the slate. "You," she said, crooking a finger at me. "Come here." I froze. "You're going to teach him what passion looks like," she commanded. With the eyes of the entire crew on me, she pulled me into the center of the frame. Then, as if we were in the scene, she wrapped her arms around me. 5 years. The moment she embraced me, I was hit by the familiar scent of jasmine that always clung to her. I could feel the softness of her body, the subtle tremor running through her. My mind went completely blank. "See," she said, still holding me, her head turned toward Julian. "This is how you hold someone." That night, Ava summoned me to her hotel suite, using the excuse that she needed to run lines. She had me sit across from her, forcing me to read the cheesy, romantic dialogue from the script over and over. "I love you. I have from the first moment I saw you." I read, my voice hoarse. "Me too," she whispered, looking straight at me. In that moment, her gaze was so focused, so sincere, I almost believed her. I broke eye contact, flustered. This woman was too good an actress. Without thinking, I let out a soft, weary sigh. It was a habit I'd had since college, my default response whenever I was faced with a problem I couldn't solve. The instant the sound left my lips, a cool voice spoke from beside me. "You still have me, you know." The words were quiet, almost broken, but a bolt of lightning shot through me, and my body went rigid. That phrase. My head snapped around to look at Ava, who was pretending to be engrossed in her script. But I could see the tension in her body, the way her knuckles had gone white as she gripped the pages. I stared at her, the blood draining from my face. What's with the sigh? It's not the end of the world. And even if it is, you still have me, you know? That's what she always used to say to me. Every single time I sighed. This was no coincidence. She knew. She had known all along. From the very first day I walked onto this set, she knew I was the same Leo Hayes from her past. The last month, all the petty demands, the subtle acts of kindness, the calculated moments of intimacy, it had all been a performance, a meticulously crafted play she was staging just for me. My mind reeled back to that summer, years ago, the beginning. Back at USC, I was just another student in the film school's directing program. I had the vision, but my family was broke, and I never got the chances the other kids did. Ava, on the other hand, was the undisputed queen of the acting department. She came from money, was impossibly beautiful, and had a famously intimidating, standoffish personality that no one dared to challenge. We were 2 parallel lines, destined never to cross. Until the senior thesis film competition. The script I had poured my soul into was being openly mocked because I couldn't afford decent actors or rent professional equipment. My rival, Julian Vance, who was relentlessly pursuing Ava at the time, publicly tore my screenplay to shreds in front of everyone. It was then that Ava walked through the crowd and stopped in front of me. She plucked the script from my hands and scanned the first 2 pages. Then, She made an announcement that sent shockwaves through the entire department. I'm funding the script. Her eyes swept the room. Her voice laced with an authority no one would question. He's a director. I'm the lead. I was in a state of shock. The rest of that semester felt like a dream. She really became my star. She used her own money to rent top-of-the-line cameras and lenses. She used her connections to bring in an experienced cinematographer. She was demanding, reaming me out without mercy if I messed up a single shot. But she was also fiercely protective, shutting down a potential investor who wanted to change my script so fast he was left speechless. We fought almost every day, yet we understood each other better than anyone. I don't know when, exactly, I fell for this impossibly domineering woman. The night we finished the film, we sat alone in the editing bay and watched the final cut together. "Thank you," I said to her. She didn't answer. She just stood up and walked slowly toward me, backing me against the wall. "Thank me," she said with a low laugh. "Leo, do you really think I did all this as a charity case?" I was completely tongue-tied. "I helped you because I wanted you," she said, her eyes locked on mine, each word delivered with sharp precision. "Your talent, and you, I wanted it. So from now on, you're mine." Got it. It was the most aggressive and the most beautiful declaration of love I had ever heard. After the secret code incident, her attitude toward me did a complete 180. The imperious demands and cold remarks vanished. She became impossibly gentle. The next day on set, Julian once again accidentally slammed into me while blocking a scene. Before I could react, Ava had already set down her script. "Julian, you must be exhausted lately. You can barely walk a straight line. Miller, why don't we give him the afternoon off? Let him get some rest." Julian's face turned a shade of mottled purple. The entire crew was staring at us with a strange, new curiosity. But Ava just walked over to me and, with a completely natural gesture, straightened the collar of my shirt. "Focus," she murmured, her voice a low whisper only I could hear. "Don't let him get to you." Her touch was light, her voice soft. All I felt was a cold dread crawling up my spine. She started bringing me hot tea herself. She would knock on my apartment door late at night, with leftovers she claimed to have cooked. She would even curl up like a lazy cat during breaks on set, resting her head on my arm as I sat in my director's chair. She was no longer the untouchable queen, but a doting, attentive girlfriend. The set was buzzing with rumors about us. The consensus was that I, the nobody assistant director, had won the lottery and captured the heart of an A-list star. Only I knew the truth. I was living in my own private hell. She was a brilliant actress. She always had been. My mind drifted back to that rainy night 5 years ago. She had looked at me with such innocent, gentle eyes and told me she was going to a small get-together with some old college friends. I believed her. The next day, I heard from someone else that it was actually a major industry mixer at a producer's mansion, crawling with half of the power players in Hollywood. Worse, I received a picture from Julian. It showed her and Julian standing together, looking as comfortable and intimate as a couple on their honeymoon. A few seconds later, 2 texts came through. "Face it, man. She's just with you to work on her craft. I'm the one she really wants. Do yourself a favor and walk away. A broke nobody like you is never going to be in her league." I stayed in bed for a full day after that. I finally understood. You could act your way through love. I woke up in the middle of the night, texted her that we were done, and blocked her number before she could reply. I packed a bag, left the city before sunrise, and decided to start over somewhere else. I never thought that after all this time, I'd run right back into her, cast once again as the lead in her twisted little drama. I was done. I'd run once to set her free. This time, I had to run to save myself. After we wrapped, I was heading back to my apartment when Ava's black SUV pulled up silently in front of me, blocking my path. "Get in," she said. "I can't, Ms. Sutton." I said get in. Her tone was sharp again, that familiar edge of command slicing through the air. I got in. She didn't start the car, just stared out the front windshield. "Leo, you're still angry with me, aren't you?" "I don't have the right to be," I said flatly. "But you're avoiding me." She turned to look at me. "Why? Because I figured you out?" I didn't say anything. She let out a bitter, self-deprecating laugh. "I guess I deserve that. At first, I really did want to make you pay. I made you run my errands, let you take Julian's crap, watched him humiliate you, and didn't say a word." Her eyes glistened with a pained light. "I just kept thinking, how could you? How could you just vanish for 5 years without a word and leave me searching for you like an idiot? How could you stand there and pretend you didn't know me? Seeing you again made me so angry. I wanted to torture you. I wanted you to feel even a fraction of the misery I've felt for the last 5 years." Her voice started to crack. "But I couldn't do it. I'd send you for coffee and then worry you were getting heat stroke, so I'd have my assistant bring you water. I'd let Julian go after you, but seeing you take it, my heart hurt more than anyone's. I made you hold my umbrella because I just wanted an excuse to have you closer to me, just a little bit closer. I listened to her confession without a flicker of emotion, finding it almost laughable. See? Such good lines. Such a layered, nuanced performance. Start with aggression, then show weakness, and finish with an emotional appeal. Truly an Oscar-worthy performance. Ava, I said calmly, cutting her off. We broke up. I never agreed to it, she shot back, her voice rising. You ran? Leo, a breakup is a two-person decision. Who gave you the right to issue a death sentence on us all by yourself? Do you have any idea how long I looked for you? The only reason I'm in this business, the only reason I work myself to the bone, was because it was the fastest way to get famous. I thought if I could just get big enough, if my face was everywhere, then one day, somewhere, you would see me. Her eyes were red now. Leo, I was wrong. I was too bossy back then. I didn't know how to say the right things, and I always hurt you. But please, just give me one more chance. As I looked at her guilt-ridden face, the image of her and Julian flashed in my mind again. In that photo, she looked so gentle, nothing like the domineering woman I knew. A profound exhaustion washed over me. I didn't want to guess anymore. I didn't want to have to decipher which lines were real and which were part of the script. Ava, I said, are your lines finished? If they are, let me get out. I have early call time tomorrow. Every trace of emotion on her face froze. I'm not falling for it again. I opened the car door, delivering my final line. I can explain about the party. Her voice trembled behind me, but as I shut the door, the sound was cut off, leaving only silence. I was up before dawn. I didn't go to the set. I went straight to the director's hotel room. Miller, I'm really sorry, I said, handing him the resignation letter I'd already written. For personal reasons, I have to leave the production. Miller was shocked. He tried to get me to stay, saying how much he valued my talent. But my mind was made up. I spent the entire day completing my exit paperwork and booking the last flight out of Los Angeles that night. Back at my apartment, I started packing my pathetically small collection of belongings. It all fit into one small suitcase. I stood at the door, suitcase in hand, and took one last look at the apartment I'd lived in for months. It felt like her scent, from the night she brought me food, still lingered faintly in the air. I gave a bitter laugh, shut the door, and locked away every last bit of sentimental bullshit behind it. It was after midnight, and the apartment complex was quiet. I dragged my suitcase to the curb, about to call an Uber to the airport. Suddenly, a pair of blinding headlights flared to life in the darkness, pinning me in their glare. A car door flew open, and a figure stumbled out, running toward me. It was Ava. She was wearing nothing but a thin silk nightgown. She hadn't even put on shoes. Her bare feet slapped against the cold concrete as she rushed toward me. She grabbed the handle of my suitcase, her eyes, usually so full of pride and light, now wide with panic. Leo. She was crying, her voice shaking. How could you be here? You're leaving again? You're going to leave me again, just like you did 5 years ago, without a single word. Seeing her like this, my heart felt like it was being squeezed by a giant fist. But my rational mind was screaming at me. She's acting. Don't fall for it. If I hadn't called Miller just now, I would have lost you again. Ava, I said, hardening my heart, trying to pry her fingers from the handle. Stop acting. I'm so tired. I'm not acting, she screamed, her grip shockingly strong. Before I could respond, her lips were on mine. Her hands shot up to cradle my face, holding me in place, not letting me pull away. The touch was soft. Her scent was intoxicating. I could feel her short, hot breaths on my skin. The kiss lasted for nearly a minute, until she finally broke away, gasping for air. She wiped the tears from her cheeks, her bloodshot eyes glaring at me. I thought maybe she had calmed down, but when she saw my unchanged expression, a fresh wave of desperation washed over her. You still don't believe me? What do I have to do to make you believe me? Ava, I know. An idea seemed to strike her, and she started pulling me toward her car. We're going to a hotel right now. I'll prove it to you. You can do whatever you want of me. I froze, stunned by the implication. Ava, are you insane? I yelled. My shout seemed to stop her. She turned and collapsed against me, her arms wrapping tightly around my torso. Please, just don't go, she sobbed into my chest. If you disappear again, I think I'll actually go crazy. I felt myself start to crack. Could anyone, even the greatest actress in the world, be this good? Why did you lie to me? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She looked up at me. I didn't mean to lie. That party had some of the biggest people in the industry there. I wanted to meet them, to get them interested in you for your next film. She sniffled, then continued. I know how proud you are. You would never let me do something like that for you. especially since Julian was the one who invited me, so I sighed, my own eyes starting to burn. Then what about this? I pulled out my phone and found the photo, Julian's cruel text still sitting beneath it. When she saw the screen, her expression turned to ice. So, that's what happened. According to Ava, at the party, Julian had introduced her to a relative of his, a well-known director. He'd asked to see Ava's range and had her and Julian improvise a scene as a romantic couple. That's when the picture was taken. Julian, Ava muttered, her eyes filled with a cold fury. It was him. I was a mess of emotions, a towering rage for Julian, a bottomless regret for my own foolish pride. But more than anything, looking at the woman who had cried over me for 5 years, all I felt was an overwhelming, soul-crushing ache for her. I lifted her into my arms and carried her to the back seat of her car. The whole time, her arms were locked around my neck, as if she was terrified I'd vanish the second she let go. I looked at her exhausted face, her bare feet now red and raw from the cold. I'm sorry. I buried my face in her hair, forcing out the words that were 5 years too late. I'm so sorry, Ava. I'm sorry. I was a coward. If I just had the courage to ask you what really happened. I thought I was setting you free, but really, I was just running away. I felt her stiffen in my arms. Then she completely relaxed, letting out a raw, unrestrained sob. She cried until she was exhausted, until her body, clad only in the thin nightgown, began to shiver violently. I finally snapped back to reality. I took off my jacket and wrapped it tightly around her. I got into the driver's seat and started the car. Where are we going? She asked, her voice thick and nasal. Home. You're home. Back at her penthouse, I set her down on the living room sofa. I knelt before her, taking her ice-cold feet in my hands. With a hot, damp towel, I gently cleaned away the grime, warming them bit by bit. When I finished, I looked up and saw that she was crying again. Don't cry, I said softly. It's all over now. Leo, don't leave tonight. Please. I won't, I promised. I'll sleep right here on the couch. No, she countered immediately. You have to sleep with me. Her eyes were wide, pleading. In my bed. With me. I'm scared. I'm scared I'll wake up and you'll be gone again. In that instant, every last wall of my resolve crumbled into dust. I nodded. Okay. That night, we lay in the same bed. I was on the edge, she was on the inside, with a hand's breadth of space between us. Leo, she said suddenly in the darkness. What were the last 5 years like for you? I was quiet for a moment, then condensed all the wandering, all the struggle, and all the longing into the simplest possible truth. It was bad, because you weren't there. I felt her shift closer to me in the dark. A cool hand found mine and laced its fingers through my own. Me too, she whispered. And just like that, holding hands in the dark, we talked all night. I told her about the 5 years I'd spent drifting from one film set to the next, never giving up on the impossible dream of becoming a director, no matter how hard it got. She told me about her 5 years, how she'd work herself to the bone, taking any role she could get, clawing her way up from a newcomer to where she was today. She said she just wanted to climb higher and higher. That way, maybe, just maybe, I would see her somewhere. The next morning, I woke to the sharp glare of sunlight. The first thing I saw when I opened my eyes was a devastatingly beautiful face asleep. At some point in the night, she had rolled into my arms. One of her hands was wrapped around my waist, holding on tight. It was good. This feeling of finding a lost treasure and holding it close was so good. Ava and I returned to the set together. We walked onto the soundstage, holding hands. When Julian saw us, his face went pale, then purple with rage. He stormed over to us. Ava, he snarled, his eyes fixed on me, though he was speaking to her. Are you insane? You're with this guy. Before Ava could respond, Julian turned on me, his voice dripping with scorn. Leo, you're something else. 1 minute you're a broke nobody, the next you're Mr. Ava Sutton. His words were vicious, designed to cut. I was about to fire back, but Ava just squeezed my hand gently. She took a step forward, completely shielding me with her body. Julian, who I'm with is none of your business. Besides, she added coolly, he was my boyfriend 5 years ago, too. Julian's face went slack, and his eyes darted over me, a look of dawning horror on his face. It was you. It was you. He started to say something else, but Ava cut him off. You spent all that time and energy setting up that party, getting someone to take those misleading photos. Why? Because you were jealous of his talent? Jealous that I loved him and not you. Did you really think that by breaking us up, you'd have a chance? Let me tell you something, Ava said, her gaze pinning him to the spot. Even without Leo, you would never, ever be good enough. Julian stood there, speechless, his face ashen under her glare. Ava didn't give him a second glance. She turned back to me and, in front of the entire cast and crew, stood on her toes and gave me a soft, lingering kiss. Let's go. Once Ava made our relationship public to the crew, I was finally given the space to do my job. Julian's star power was nothing compared to hers, and the crew was more than happy to listen to her. On the last day of shooting, Ava stood beside me. She pulled out her phone, aimed it at us, and with a soft click, took a selfie. Her assistant, sensing what was coming, rushed over. Her face panicked. Ava, think about this. Don't be impulsive. Ava ignored her. Her long, slender fingers flew across the screen, typing out a short message. Then she hit post. Almost simultaneously, phones all over the set began to buzz and chime. On instinct, I pulled out my own phone. Instagram was melting down. Her post had already broken the internet. At Ava Sutton Official. Thought I'd introduce you all to this guy, Leo Hayes. My boyfriend, who was just away on a 5-year business trip. That short caption was a bombshell that sent shockwaves across the entire internet. Hashtag Ava Sutton dating, hashtag Ava and Julian, hashtag who is Leo Hayes. The 3 hashtags exploded, trending worldwide in record time. At first, everyone online was asking, who is Leo Hayes, and mocking me as some kind of gold-digging nobody who'd lucked his way into the big leagues. But then Ava did something that stunned everyone. She went on an absolute blitz, turning her Instagram into a shrine to our relationship. She'd post a candid shot of me staring intently at a monitor with the caption, "A man focused on his work is a beautiful thing." She'd post a picture of the lopsided, slightly burned roast chicken I tried to make for her with the caption, "His first time cooking for me. It was terrible, but I ate every bite." She even posted a picture she'd secretly taken of me passed out on the couch from exhaustion, with one of her feet resting on my leg, and the caption, "Mine," stamped. Her account transformed from the carefully curated profile of an aloof movie star into the gushing, love-struck feed of a normal person in love. The internet went wild. Public opinion shifted from "this will never last" to "okay, I kind of ship it," and finally to full-blown CP fandom. They saw that the icy queen of the silver screen could smile like a goofy teenager when she was with me. 6 months later, our movie was released. Because Ava had insisted, the director ended up using all of my original concepts. The film became the biggest dark horse of the year, a critical and commercial smash hit. And I went from an unknown assistant director to winning the Independent Spirit Award for Best First Feature. That night, after the ceremony, I came home. I walked into the bedroom and found Ava, fresh from shower, wearing a silk slip. When she saw me, she crooked a finger, beckoning me over. I smiled, walked to the side of the bed, and handed her the award, still warm from my hand. "This is for you," I said. She took the trophy and casually set it on the nightstand. "Director Hayes," she purred, wrapping her arms around my neck. "You look very handsome up on that stage tonight." I leaned down and kissed her. "I've decided," she whispered against my lips, "that tonight, I'm going to reward you properly. Besides, I still owe you a demonstration." I couldn't hold back another second. I pushed her gently onto the bed, covering her body with my own, swallowing every last one of her breaths. Outside, the moon was bright. I knew that the movie of our lives had only just begun, and I would spend every shot I had left loving the one and only best actress in front of me.